as a producer, the vast majority of us don't know shit about artist development, marketing, nothing, or running a label. Some of us are struggling just to make good beats and mix them. What's going down? It's the Music Entrepreneur Club podcast. We're back. It's the regular cast of characters. Sorry, no guest today, but we do have Aaron, everyone's favorite. Dame and I don't matter. Shout out to Creative Visions Apparel as well. I don't know if any of you have fashion to shout out. Is local Black-owned companies, so shout out to them. Shout out to KB The Gift. How are you feeling today? What's going on? Any apparel plugs this morning?
Nah, I mean, this is all our own. Well, this is the whole crew is stupid hat. That's our own stuff. Big Jaw's whole crew is stupid, and then this is just a sweatshirt from the homie. I think it's his daughter and his son ran track, so they have a little sweatshirt line. I don't think they push it that heavy. I don't even think I've seen it recently, but it's old. We roll on this side, so yeah. Shout out the Harris family. But now I'm feeling good. This week has been kind of average. I had a good conversation on Monday that seemed promising for Big Jaw. But other than that, just trying to get this web series out the door and get this soundtrack out, because we've been having so many issues in post-production with the web series. So it's pushed us back even another week. It'll still come out this month, but man, we need to tighten up our process and find some new editors. So any editors out there that know how to edit web series or think they know how to edit web series and that are fast and communicate well, holla at me.
I feel like if somebody is listening to this right now and they have an interest in learning how to edit, just do it. Good editors are always in demand, because either you're like Hollywood level and you charge like $2,000 per hour, which is insane, or you're this like person who knows how to do TikToks, which is cool because that's helpful, but then you're slow and you play games and I don't know. So if you're good at it, if you think you could be a good editor, spend 2 months getting really good. Now you will have jobs for days, forever.
But don't hit me if you're not really good now. If you don't hit me. I know that
I'm just saying it's promising.
On the Independent Living podcast, when I had Guap on, his engineer, I guess his engineer kind of scammed him, because like, I don't know Pro Tools or anything like that, but I guess there's something called hotkeys. And I guess Guap's engineer basically said that he was an engineer, but at the time he was just a producer. But just to get in the room, he said he was an engineer. And I guess he just went on YouTube and researched like all the hotkeys. And Guap didn't really know how to vet an engineer at the time. So he looked like he knew what he was doing. And it still is engineer to this day. So he learned how to become an engineer. But in the beginning, he didn't know shit. All he did was watch a few YouTube videos to get into the room. So definitely don't do that with me. Don't do that. I'm not saying it.
Wait a minute. You told an amazing story about a scammer getting scammed by an engineer and all is well in the end. And you're like, don't do that shit.
Don't do that with me. That's not going to finesse.
Everybody scam Dame. Learn all the hotkeys in Final Cut and pull the same Guap Dad move on Dame, and he won't know.
No, you'll be able to tell if somebody knows how to edit faster than an engineer to use.
Yeah, no, there's not. We're going to be able to realize right away that you're not the editor for us. Like, you're not going to be able to pick up what you need to pick up in a matter of weeks or days in terms of the type of turnarounds that we need. But I just thought it was a fun, interesting story. And it happens, like, people.
Sometimes it happens, Aaron.
Sometimes it ends up well, and sometimes it ends up with your ass kicked. Like, so, if you want to roll the dice, roll it. But just know that the outcomes they vary. So
charge up front if you're trying to run a scam.
No, whoa. All right, paid. No. I'm doing great this morning. I was in LA all weekend for our artist Xavier Omar's pop-up shop and sold out show. So the pop-up shop was Saturday. The show was on Sunday, Super Bowl Sunday. I watched Rihanna in the car and then went inside for sound check. The show was shortly after. Great crowd. I don't have any merch on, but I'm drinking Xavier's tea. We have a tea line called with a tea company called Savoy Tea out in Northwest Arkansas. So this is the You're So Beautiful blend. It's rooibos. I don't know how to say that tea with like rose petals in it. I didn't think I was gonna like it, but this tea is amazing. So I've been drinking it, love it a lot. So
that sounds
shout
good.
out to Xavier. I can send y'all some. I'll send y'all some. This
Okay,
tea,
yeah, please. I'm just gonna text you my address right now.
She's
do
gonna
it,
send
it's
us
like
some, just like we were gonna appear on the Excellence Academy.
Stop. I shut down the Excellence Academy. I will give y'all some tea though, because we only have like a few packages left over from the weekend. So I brought them all home with me.
Nice, dope. So what's the story behind the tea? Why does he have tea? How is that part of him? Like, he just likes tea.
Yeah, he's an artist. He's a singer. He's very into taking care of his voice. And a lot of his core fan base are other singer-songwriters. So we felt like it was just a good thing instead of trying to penetrate the market with yet another hoodie. I mean, we do sell hoodies sometimes, like this weekend we did. But instead of trying to sell another t-shirt, we were like, what's something that he enjoys that we can do? And I love the one size fits all things. So like mugs, candles, all of those things, everybody wears the same size tee. So he drops a new tee every quarter. We dropped one in November. So this is the new quarter drop. We dropped a peppermint tea in November for his single peppermint tea that came out in December. And then now we have the You're So Beautiful blend right now that's out. And then we'll probably drop another one this summer. But yeah, he's a singer. It's delicious. It's something unique and a way to partner with a different type of company.
Dope. No, I like it. I mean, obviously I knew it fit into the story and brand somehow, but just wanted to have you say it so that people understand like how that came to be and how that fits in his world. But anyway, let's kick it off with the first topic. So there were some back and forth on Twitter. It was about like, if there's a role that a manager plays in an artist's business, like what is that role most similar to, right? So is that the CEO? Is that the COO? Is that something else? Is that it depends? And there were a key weighed in, and she said that it's more COO. And I think that, a lot of people believe that it should be COO, some CEO. But I think when somebody of influence weighs in, it sways a lot of opinions. Like when somebody of influence weighs in, I think it sways a lot of opinions, because I think everybody that would have said CEO just shut up when she kind of like weighed in. So I wanted to have that conversation here.
Wait, say that one more time. You said people were telling her to like shut up when she weighed in?
No. I think when somebody of influence weighs in on something, a lot of people that would have had a different opinion don't say anything, right? Because, like they said something. So whether that actually changes their opinion or whether they think they're just going to catch a lot of heat if they say something publicly in return, that, I just think that it kind of sways the opinions when somebody of influence, somebody that has a great resume, somebody that's actually doing real stuff in the game kind of way.
It doesn't work with us on our Instagram.
I was just about to say, unless it's us.
Right. Well, yeah, I guess. So anyway, I definitely have an opinion on this, but I want to get your guys' opinions first on what you think the role is that a manager should play in an artist's business. Aaron, you want to weigh in on this?
The first thing I want to say is the person who originated the tweet is one of the worst managers I've ever done business with. So he's promoting something underneath. I guess he has a newsletter or something. He had to turn to that because he has such a high turnover rate. Ask anyone he's ever managed. They're probably not listed on his website. because everybody, and I mean everybody he's ever worked with, hates working with him on the management side. And I personally had one business dealing with him, never again. His best friend who used to work with him doesn't even speak to him anymore because of his bad business dealings. So I'm not going to mention his name because I'm not giving free clout or promo here. But if you look at the origination of the tweet, just because Key responds doesn't make him a valid business person. So don't work with that person.
I'm not suggesting you should say his name. I don't even, to be honest, I don't remember. I think I remember who it was, but if you said his name, it definitely wouldn't be giving him clout because that was not a high praise of.
For sure. But I'm just saying, like, your name out my mouth, period, is promo.
Gotcha. Okay. So Aaron, what's your perspective? What's your perspective on this? What role do managers play in an artist business?
So I personally feel like the manager is a business partner. And I feel like if I can't treat the relationship like we're business partners, then I don't want to be a part of it. You end up in all of this bullshit where when the artist feels as if they're the CEO, but they're not equipped to be a CEO, they're telling the most equipped person in the room how to be a good business person. So though artists, I think, should know more about their business. All artists don't. Some artists do. And it's a growing and learning process. I think when you bring in a business partner, you're saying, which is why a lot of people were saying manager, CEO, or COO. I see it more as a COO, but again, when it comes to the structure, y'all are equals when you walk into the room, in my opinion. You're business partners, and then you're disseminating what needs to get done. I think that the artist is like chief creative officer, the business or the manager is chief operations. What is it? Head of operations. You know what I'm saying? I think the manager floats and we keep everything on track. I think the CEO role can be hired in as somebody else even on the team, but I don't super like the artist is the CEO. But if the artist is seeing the manager as their business partner, then I'm okay with whatever you want to call yourself. I don't care what the manager calls yourself. I'm just saying, in my book, the manager comes in as a business partner with the artist and has equity in the company.
Correct me if I'm wrong. I've never worked in corporate America, and this is actually going to transition into my topic nicely. You have, Dame. The CEO has hiring and firing power, correct?
I mean, but the board can fire them. I mean, the board could get the CEO out of it, but the CEO, yeah. I mean, he or she has.
Or they. But yeah, so whoever is in that role has the hiring and firing power. I think in practice, the artist is the CEO in that regard. Ideally, I echo what Aaron says, which is that it should be a business partnership. Now, I've seen all types of iterations of this dynamic. A lot of them are toxic and unproductive. I've heard managers claim to be babysitters. And I think, well, if you're at that point, maybe you shouldn't be managing those artists. And, you hear artists saying, well, I'm the CEO, I'm the boss, this manager works for me. I think at that point, you shouldn't have a manager. I mean, if you are so much of a boss where you can handle this stuff yourself, just contract what you need. I think those are the types of personalities to walk away from, because in the babysitter situation, either the artist is being managed prematurely, which is bad for both the artist and the manager, or the manager is just a dick. In the instance in which the artist flexes the CEO style role, that probably means they don't value the manager, whether or not the manager has value. If they treat each other as partners, which is a situation I've not personally had when I've managed here and there. But certainly when it comes to me being managed, I really defer to my management a lot, because they're in a very different environment than I am, interacting with people that, to put it frankly, I don't always feel comfortable interacting with. or want to interact with. Like when the labels said so I got an email the other day from the labels. I'm just like, man, I'm feeling like an emotional artist because they got my name wrong on this damn split sheet. There's no percentage filled in. Why are they putting this on me? That doesn't make any damn sense. They're the label. So that's when I say, okay, I'm CCing my management and they're going to handle it. And he handles it. And that's just kind of the role. There's never any sort of fighting about it. So I look at that as more of a partnership. And I think that's the ideal. If you're not looking at it as a partnership, I think a better analogy would just be a relationship, whether it's a friendship, whether it's a romantic relationship. If you're not looking at it as a partnership and there's some type of tipping of the scales going on, that's problematic.
Yeah. I mean, as with every question in the music industry, my answer is just always, it depends. And if if somebody was like, hey, you have to answer this question, is it CEO or COO? Coming from the corporate world and knowing what like real CEOs do, how much knowledge they have of their business, how much knowledge they have of their industry, there are very few artists that are equipped to be a real CEO. Most artists that say they want to be CEO is just an ego thing. It's just like, hey, I want to have control over everything, and I don't want to make it appear like I'm not the boss of my business, even if that's not the best thing for your business. So I don't think CEO is a perfect role title, but if I was forced, I would say that the manager, and this is not to say all managers are equipped to be CEO either, but if you have a manager that understands what they're doing, I would say they're probably more of the person that's equipped to be a CEO than any artist. Like, don't get me wrong, like there are a few artists that I run across like, oh, okay, like they're really on top of their shit. I just had a conversation with Echo for the Independent Living podcast. He understands his business. He's running ads. Like he kind of knows the ins and out. He knows where he wants to go. So I'm like, okay, but he's in the minority, in my opinion, from the artists that I've seen, because CEOs in corporate world, I mean, they understand everything like the back of their hand. Like that's how they got to where they are, unless it's a small company, they started the business themselves and they just put themselves in that role. I would just encourage everybody to relax their ego and do what's best for whatever the end goal is. Right. Like I think the manager, if you want to give him the COO title, I guess that's fine, because a manager does do a lot of that in terms of like, setting up all the operations, bringing on the team, things like that. And if you want to give the artist like chairman, like if you want a seat on the board, because like I told you before, paying like the person on the board, like that committee, it's usually a committee can get the CEO out of there. So if you want your ego to feel good, like this manager is not going to be CEO I could get this manager out of the seat if I wanted to, like maybe you're like chief content officer and have a seat on the board. But long story short, I've seen very few artists that really know the business like that. They really know. And that's my problem with artists wanting to jump into that CEO seat. Well, obviously with Funk Volume, like I was the CEO of Funk Volume, but our business was bigger than Hopsin's business. So, I would never say I was Hopsin's CEO. He would probably have a fit if I said that. But I was the CEO of the company because like he knew nothing about the business, nor was he trying to learn. So if we were going to call Hopsin the CEO, if he had to be the CEO and I just kind of stepped back, like we would have went nowhere. And nothing would have been done.
Hold on. I think that's a important story, at least, because I think everyone's aware of, maybe not everyone, but if you're a Hopsin fan, you're aware of at least his origin story, which is being in a really terrible deal. And then Funk Volume comes after that. And that's what made his career and his millions of dollars, which ironically, was Dame. And then now everyone blames Dame for ruining Hopsin's career. So they talk out both sides of their mouths. But the fact that this happens, and it's really unfortunate, and this is something for artists to pay attention to. If Hopsin, as Dame is saying, didn't want to learn about the business after what happened to him initially, that's kind of a bleak outlook for a lot of artists to have. But I think it's typical. Rather than just learning the business, you just keep rotating managers. And I look at people involved in all types of toxic cycles, especially with relationships. Like, rather than go to therapy, let me just find another man. Let me just find another girlfriend. Let me just get married again. You know, and you see people, or instead of going to therapy and figuring my shit out, let me get another job. I'll find another job. It'll be better. And it's like, that's not how you break cycles. So with regard to that example, and we're talking about the CEO structure and this and that, like, these roles can be changed at any moment if you learn what the new role entails. And I think you should. I think that's probably what Dame is thinking as well.
Yeah.
Go
ahead, Aaron, my bad.
I think if the artist is the CEO, to Payne's point, then the artist's trajectory and success would at least stay where it was when the manager left, if not accelerate. But as in my case, and I'm assuming I know with Dame, all of our cases, or I guess Payne, like when you were a manager, even to now, when I leave, my position always gets better and theirs always gets worse. So it's like, this is not a shot to anybody, but if you were truly the CEO, at very least, we would just part and be okay. But it doesn't happen that way. So that's why I'm also opposed to this thought process, because it's like, yes, you may be the visionary, but in my healthiest artist management relationship, we do function as business partners. But every time she has something, because she's a mogul herself in her mind. I never thought she'd make it as an artist. I thought she was going to take off, start a bunch of businesses, but as an artist, now she has a bunch of businesses. Genius. But it's my healthiest relationship because the communication is very understood. She's like, Aaron works with me, not for me. When I have hurdles, I call Aaron. So yesterday, we have a call every Tuesday. When we get on the call, she comes with questions. Here are my questions. Boom, 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 boom. She has the confidence that I can solve them. So she relies on me in that way. You know what I'm saying? A lot of artists walk in, I want to do this, this, and this. She'll even say, I want to do this. How do we get there? Right? To me, that's way more of a CEO role. But again, the ego thing, I don't own her company, so I have equity in her company. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, yeah, she's still technically in charge. She doesn't have to take my advice, but she doesn't treat me like I'm an employee. I'm not even her day-to-day, you know? And I think that that's something that's very different with a lot of artists. You know, I have other different dynamics with artists. I have another artist who does kind of want us to be more like, y'all don't necessarily work for me, but I get to call the shots. But okay, we get compensated more fairly then. If you want to run this show, that's fine. But this is what it costs for us to come in and take a backseat to what you want to do, because it's going to slow the money down. You know what I'm saying? And so we create different business structures. But when I was younger, I came in, I acted like I was an employee because people treated me that way. And it always led to the demise of the business, you know? So that's, again, why I affirm that it's got to be, to me, more of a business partnership. And then an understanding of who holds the knowledge base. Again, I'm not smarter than you. I'm not better than you, but I probably have more experience in this. Just like I think that I'm going to leave you to be experienced with creating the music and following your vision as a creative, you should leave me with the experience of running your business.
I think we're kind of all on similar pages. You know, I think at the end of the day, you know, relax your egos and just do what's best for the team, you know, and getting to the end goal as quickly and as healthily as possible. You know, because, and this is not, I don't want to put down art. What you guys are doing, you know, takes a lot of effort in the creative, you know, and I think people should stick to their strong suits But I also think you should learn the business. And if you really enjoy the business, then jump with 2 feet in. And especially you're going to have to if you don't have anybody that can fill that role. I think Hopsin learned very quickly that he didn't really want to start a label. I mean, he trashed Funk Volume. It burned. Undercover Prodigy was supposed to rise from the ashes. It still doesn't have another artist. He rarely puts out music. There's not another label, even though right after, as he was trashing my name and, just completely throwing away Funk Volume, he said that he was going to sign artists and do all these things. And then you realize what it takes to do that and how present you have to be, how involved you have to be. And then 6-7 years later, you still don't have a label. So there has to be somebody that's willing, capable, knowledgeable to step in and do that if the end goal is to have a label and to have, a bunch of other artists. So yeah, long story short, the label don't really matter. Figure out what works for you guys, make it fair, and just keep it pushing. COO, CEO, artists just want to be CEOs. They just want to be CEOs because they just want to say that they're a CEO. But I will tell you, very few of you are really capable of being a real CEO. It's probably 5% of the artists that I've interacted with, if that. That's probably being generous.
And even if you're good at business, doesn't mean that you're equipped to be a CEO. That's still 2 different things.
Yeah, no. But I mean, yeah, that is true. But the main thing of my main thing of just running into artists that really know this business, like the CEO of Chevron knows their business. Artists, there's very few artists that are on that kind of level. So relax. Yeah, we could. So you said this flowed into your topic, Payne. How so?
Well, this was another Instagram interaction, but it has to do with the whole corporate America metaphor comes up. And then also the idea of a partnership comes up. And this is more producer, recording artist. I had just posted about, how selling beats online isn't dead. And it was just kind of a motivational thing because a lot of people are saying selling beats are dead and they've always said that. But I feel like now we're in a unique time where there is economic uncertainty to go along with that assertion. So people are seeing it as a little more valid. But I'm just here to reassure people that no, that's not the case. So a gentleman by the name of Optimistic Gangster says this, and we had a long exchange. He wrote very long paragraphs, but this is the part that hit me, and I just want to know your reactions to this. And then his follow-up has to do with the whole corporate America analogy. Producers' jobs is not just to sell beats. Their job is to also help the artist turn the record into a hit and help the artist grow by checking in every day on the record and giving marketing advice. I notice majority producers limit their basic lease to 5 million streams. Helping the artist market the product you made should be highly executed, especially if people purchase from your website on a daily basis. So just that first part, I think there's a lot of good, and then there's a lot of, oh my God, I feel like I'm getting hit in the face with a brick.
Who is this person, Payne?
He is a rap artist. So, I think recording artists have a different perspective, and it's cool to hear those.
I'm going to request that we no longer bring randos into the MEC podcast. Is this cat moving? Is he doing something
Well, I don't think that's the point. I think the point is when you're working in the music business, this is an opinion that you're going to run into quite a bit because, and this isn't a shot, the majority of everybody working in the music business, I think you would consider a rando, but there's still a huge part of the economy, and it's anyone's guess as to which random can become, a household name. I think some of us have better guesses, and we can decide based on observing how they move whether or not that's a likelihood. But no, this isn't like a 5 Instagram follower type of dude. He's got tens of thousands of followers. So in that regard, there's a platform for his opinions.
So he's saying producers are normally part of the marketing and check-in day to day on a record.
That's the assertion
that's the normal. That's the opinion that a lot of people have, that's normally what producers do.
I think the opinion that people have is that they don't know what the hell a producer does, but we just kind of become whatever it is that they think they need. We've talked about this before. I think what it is that because we're selling beats and we're making money at the very beginning, and granted, it's like a funnel like an upside down funnel where you pay, a little for a beat at the beginning, and then say that song does become a hit at the end, that little amount of money that you spent becomes a whole lot of money that you've made. So, but I think there's resentment there. And I know when we were on tour, we were kind of trying to draw that out and maybe resolve some of it. But I do, as a producer, I do feel as though there is this resentment from recording artists to beat makers, because the beat makers are like, well, if I have to pay for the beat, why am I not getting A, B, and C service? And it's like, well, because you're paying for the beat, and that's the service and the product all in one. But the assertion that, and then, it becomes a conversation where it's like, well, think about Pharrell, think about Dre, think about Timberland. They all marketed their artists really well. In my estimation, they did not do the marketing. The labels did the marketing. Labels have always been the marketing. And even labels don't do all the marketing. Labels hire third parties. But it's still seen, especially in the unsigned DIY, even to an extent, the independent world, that could mean anything, that the producer has this obligation to be a marketer, a promoter, an artist developer. And my thing is, I'm just going to say this. As a producer, the vast majority of us don't know shit about artist development, marketing, nothing, or running a label. We're not equipped. Some of us are struggling just to make good beats and mix them. I don't see this as the norm. I've never seen this as the norm. Even when you're talking about a producer who can develop artists, they still have a label behind them. So it's a boring conversation where I hear people say, well, what about the Neptunes? They're real producers. Okay, yeah, they're amazing. Did they do artist development? Yeah. Are they great at branding? Sure. Did their biggest projects have label backing with, probably 6 to 7 figure marketing campaigns that they themselves didn't run? Yes.
Yeah. I think these days, if you have the ability to, play multiple roles and do it well, then I would encourage you to do so. Like if I don't ever want to say, hey, you're a producer, stay in your lane. But if that is all you are, then that's what you should do. But if you have multiple skills, then flex those, grow those. I encourage everybody, especially as a producer. I think, these days there's more opportunity than ever to be more than just a producer, but you have to put just as much effort and energy as you do into producing into these other roles that you say you want to play. So that's my thing. If you are just a producer, then stay in your lane. If you if you desire to have these other skill sets, I think there's room now for you to exercise those options, because artists need them. Because artists have to play multiple roles. Everybody has to play multiple roles. I think the teams are much more lean these days. So play the roles if you have the capacity and willingness to do them well, at the level of which, a marketer would say. But if you don't, then I would suggest you stay in your lane. That's all I have.
What? Sorry, Aaron, go ahead.
I was gonna say this assertion is really stupid, because you're not asking your videographer to come out with a rollout plan for the music video or for your social media content. I think it sounds like it's a bit of entitlement, kind of like, well, if the producer has a platform, I should now be able to leverage that platform because I purchased a beat from you. It's the same bullshit that I get with my artists. When people get a feature, they're like, okay, but are you going to post it? I'll be like, yeah, this is how much it costs for the feature if we post it. This is how much it costs for the feature if it's a collab, if we like the song. This is how much it costs for the feature for us to post it, to do a live with you, whatever. I just like, if people ask for that, I'm like, here's the other package rate. Because what you're asking for is a verse. You're asking for a service. You like the way they rap, and we're getting a feature. If you want them to now become a marketer and use their platform, that's a separate fee. Same with me as a manager. You want me to manage? This is what it costs. You want build your own dreams to manage you and market you and become your team? This is what it costs. Completely different things. And most people don't want to see it that way. And then they're like, well, managers do this. And it's like, as Dame says, it depends. If your producer is like Kenny Beats also takes an artist royalty. He produces the beat. And then if he puts it out, he's also one of the artists because he puts it out under his Spotify profile, which has millions of monthly listeners. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, it depends. Whereas Mike Dean doesn't release music like that. Mike Dean's going to give you a beat. He's not going to promote it. He's not going to put you on Twitch. He's not going to talk about it. Like, obviously Mike Dean isn't selling beats to regular people. You got to go through agencies and get approvals. But I'm just saying, it's like, different strokes for different folks. But if you think that that is the standard and therefore you can require that, you're dense, one. But two, if that's what you really desire, go build with somebody who's around you. Y'all create your own collective and redefine the norms. Don't try to place that on everybody in the industry. I defined my norms. So when people want to work with me, you have to step into my new normal. But I'm not saying that's the way that everybody functions. I'm not even saying that it's the way the industry should function. I think there should be things that people do that I do that aren't done. But if you want to redefine your norms, you have to stand from a power position to do that versus from a needing position and telling people how to change their lives.
And I also think it's perception too. You know, when I was just a baby in the music business, I thought, oh man, if I could just get this cosign. And I still see a lot of people operating under that notion that all you need is a cosign, all you need is a retweet, all you need is a share, all you need is a collab, all you need is a feature, and you're on. You know how many artists you've never heard of have Lil Baby features. You know how many artists you've never heard of have beats from some of your favorite producers. You know how many artists you've never heard of were front page world star, were on this
Snoop
channel.
Dogg features with less than 1 million streams.
Yeah. I mean, legendary artists doing features, legendary producers making beats, even marketing agencies. I know so many artists who have spent, you know, house down payment money on a rollout and it went nowhere because their branding wasn't good. The song wasn't good. The marketing agency just was having an off month. It could be 1,000,001 different reasons why that particular thing didn't work. And then all the artists that I personally know that have done well, it was all organic. It wasn't because of a feature. I don't know any artist personally that blew up off of a feature. I'm not saying it couldn't happen, but a lot of weird stuff could happen. It could happen because you were at the same Burger King drive-through as someone else, you know, like just, you never know. But these interesting situations where, you know, someone stumbles upon success, people start looking at those as the norm, and they're not. And I'll tell you, I don't know Kenny Beats, but I'm going to probably guarantee you that he doesn't have time or the resources or even the expertise to market every artist he works with. And I'm sure he has a team. And even when I'm working 50-50 with an artist, we're still outsourcing the marketing because at the end of the day, I want to be a great producer. That takes up so much time. How am I going to learn to be, what did he say? A high level marketer? What was the word he said? I can't find it. Something about, you know, you have to market at this advanced level. Yeah, that's what marketers do. The same way a great producer can make an amazing record, a great marketer can market a record in an amazing way. But I want to end with this line from him also because I think this is bigger than the producer artist dynamic. This is just an analogy that I hear people use all the time to describe the music business. And he says, we must think of music in regards to corporate America and the drug game. It's like retail. Well, that's a third metaphor now. But he says, once you make that agreement with an artist who trusts you, they'll sell what you sold and you'll sell what they sold and both get paid after. I disagree with that because that's never been the case for me. And it's certainly
never sold drugs or worked in corporate America or retail.
Well, here's my question. Like all the people and I've never sold drugs or worked in corporate America, but the people that I know who have worked in corporate, well, Dame, we're not going to talk about that. The people I know who sold drugs are like either in federal prison or they snitched and I'm not cool with them anymore. So it's like, I hope that's not how the music business runs. Correct me if I'm wrong, though.
Yeah, I don't know what he's talking about.
The I sell what you sell, that whole thing is very strange. I mean, maybe he's talking about like Black boys or something. I don't really understand the analogy either. But yeah, I think that there's just a ton of ignorance to his statement. I think a lot of people come in with ignorance, which does tie in with what we were just talking about. If you're an artist and you don't understand the game, you can't be a CEO. But I think also with this guy, he just needs to learn more before he continues. Like, please keep watching the MEC. Please read a book. Please go talk to somebody who's making at least some money in the music industry before you come at a platinum producer who does this for real for a living, and tells them that they should be a marketer now.
Well, and I didn't see it as a disrespectful interaction. For the record, it wasn't like what happened with Dame a couple of weeks ago where the dude was like, I'm going to knock you out when I see you, or whatever it was.
Who is now currently responding to all of my tweets.
Funny how you're going to knock someone out and then you're in their partner's DM and in their DM. So anyway, but it was a conversation where I felt like there just wasn't enough substance to the initial point that he was making. And then it just became, I finally was like, bro, he was just answering my questions with questions. So I was like, I can't debate this way. So I'm just out, but it wasn't disrespectful. I don't have time for that. I thought it was an interesting point though, just because I'm seeing that sentiment a lot. And I would love to I would love to have access to this secret Illuminati red button where, any artist that works with me, I just push the button. I'm like, cool. 10 million streams first week. It's impossible.
I mean, I know a couple people signed to Rock Nation right now. The new chick on OVO right now, been dropping singles. She's, I think, at 200,000 monthly listeners right now. So I don't know, the people who they say is the initiates of said Black Curtain, even their artists aren't popping like that. So
yeah, people just think like even Nicki Minaj's career took forever. I remember when Nicki first got signed and there was some hype and Wayne was kind of trying to hype it up and, you heard her music and I was like, oh yeah, this is cool. She can rap. But nothing happened for like 3-4 years after they announced her. I mean, I shouldn't say nothing happened, but nothing on this grand global scale. Now she's a pop icon. That took some time. I think people expect a lot in very little time and very little effort. And that's just not how the music business works. We got to just stop looking at the exceptions to the rules. And even, there are the people like a Lil Nas X where you're like, oh, you popped up out of nowhere and you really don't know because you weren't there. But even the fact that people, called him a one-hit wonder after the meteoric rise of Old Town Road, I think is hilarious because he's still around front and center and has had some pretty successful music and ventures since Old Town Road. And that takes work. It's not, you get that hit and it's amazing from there, or you get that cosign and you're just riding the success train up to the the top of the mountain. You know what I mean? So it's a matter of perception. And I think the issue with and the beauty of social media is that you can communicate with zero experience with someone with a high level of experience in the music business. And you're having the debate on an equal footing. And oftentimes those debates go nowhere because of that experience differential.
I know we're running short on time, but Aaron, did you have a topic today that we can address quickly?
I mean, yes and no. I want to go into this lawyer conversation, but I know we got to get a lawyer on here. But I would say I was going to talk about sticking to your guns, but I feel like that may empower the wrong people. The more we were talking today, I was like, I think that in this industry, you have to be really resolute with what you believe in and what you know and the direction that you're going in. But I do think that saying that to an ignorant person will empower them to be more ignorant. So I don't necessarily know if I want to dive into that, but yeah.
That's a good topic though, because I know what you're saying. It's this catch-22, not even a catch-22. It's this, what would the term be? You absolutely have to be super stubborn in this music business, but it's a contradiction because, not a contradiction, there's a way better word. Why am I not knowing? Oh, God damn it. Paradox is a paradox where you need to be stubborn but not inflexible. And you need to be resolute.
That's good.
Yeah, resolute but not closed off to change.
Yeah. Yeah, the reason that I brought that up is because this weekend I was in LA and I don't know, it's just like every day I'm living in a reality that I created for myself, but it took so long to get here, like so long to get here. But it's because I refused to do it the way that people were like telling me to do it, you know, and not in I was stubborn, but it's because I could see the end, right? Like I knew that I didn't want to have to compromise certain things along this path. Like I wanted to actually have a say in what my career looked like every day. I wanted to actually be happy. I want to rest. I want to equip my team. I want to inspire other women. I want Black people to be able to own things. Like these are all things that I could see. And I recognize that autonomy was a big feature in that. And a lot of people were like, well, if you just do it this way, if you just do it this way. Now we've broken through like the third dimension to where we found all the other people who are just doing whatever the fuck they want, right? And so now the type of partnerships that we get to have access to and the type of people that we get to work with give us the opportunity to hop, skip, and jump over industry standards, which I've been doing. I've been avoiding in industry standards for all this time, but I had to learn them first, right? It's like you can't just completely throw everything out. Like I'm still learning every day. This podcast is us talking about a lot of what's going on in the industry. I just don't think that anybody has to succumb to the norm, right? But again, considering the type of feedback we consistently get and the type of flack that people give us, I recognize that on the internet, when you say things like that and people don't see the type of work and effort, the amount of years, the amount of money, the amount of, you know, everybody says, oh, I'm working hard. I have rarely ever met anybody who actually works hard in this industry. I'm gonna be honest, like who's on their way, right? People who have made it, it's like 50-50. People who have made it, it's like they may be working hard now, they may not be working hard. But people who are on their way, most people are just doing a bunch of shit, like not working hard. It's just like you're doing a bunch of shit and you're calling it working hard, or you work hard for a few days, or you're in the studio for a few months and you call it hard work. But again, maybe it's a generational thing or whatever. When I was coming up, it was literally like, I'm working one job to pay my bills. I'm working another job to invest in the music stuff. And then when I get off from both of those jobs, I'm volunteering in the music industry. I'm throwing shows. You know what I'm saying? Like I really most of my life have been working hard as fuck. And so now that I get here and I kind of talk about my reality, people are like, I just want that. Cause I sleep now. Like I never used to sleep. I sleep now. You know what I'm saying? I have off days, you know, like people ask me what I do for a living. I'm like, I'm myself for a living. And people love that because they're like, oh, you're so young and vibrant. But I'm like, at what cost? Like, you don't know what I sacrificed to get here. And so I wanted to talk about sticking to your guns because even this weekend, like seeing the turnout, our first ever show, our first ever event we ever threw in LA had 400 people come through. You know what I'm saying? It was a pop-up shop at a plant shop in Lincoln Heights. Yeah. Look, so it's like for me, like being able to say like, oh yeah, now almost every city that we go to, we're able to throw a successful event, even if we've never been in that market. That came from sticking to our guns. But sticking to your guns means learning the market, means learning your strategy, means building out a team, building out a system, building out an ecosystem of people who could, you know what I'm saying? But as I thought about it, I was like, this may not be words to the wise, because I feel like, yeah, for those who can hear it, it's beneficial. But for the vast majority of people, they're going to be like, yeah, that's why I decided not to. And it's like, no, you sound like a dumbass. Like,
yeah, that's why I'm not releasing music for a full 5 years. And do you ever want this? Here's a thought I have a lot, and I shouldn't think this because it's musing on the past, but I feel bad for anyone that dated me before I started actually making money in music, because I was working nonstop on music, and it was just, I was living and breathing music. We're playing these shows, you know, like some of my exes would come out and they had to smile and be supportive even if the show was a flop. And some of them were like, you know, you got to get financially stable, that type of thing. And I'm like, oh, fuck all that. I'm making music. You don't see the vision. You don't believe in me. And now I'm like, okay, I actually check all the boxes of, you know, like what a high value man in one of these YouTube videos would say they have. And I did it off of music, but it took me, I don't even want to say how many years. It took me a long time. And so all the people that had to suffer through my shit as I was figuring it out, oh man, it sucks because they didn't get any benefit from it. They just got to see me work myself to death and be isolated and be unavailable and be busy all the time on something that wasn't materializing very quickly. And they're looking at it like, I can imagine a lot of, and some of them said it in so many words, I can imagine a lot of my exes being like, this motherfucker's stupid. He's not going anywhere. And look at him investing all this damn time in this. He needs to just get a regular job. You know, stop doing this shit. What is he going to do? He has nothing. He's not making any money. He's not investing anything in his future. So that part, Aaron, resonated with me quite a bit. The thing is, the terrifying and beautiful thing about it is you don't know until it happens. You don't know. At the end of it, you're like, oh, I was right. And then you kind of question how right you are. You're like, well, what could I have done better? Could it have happened faster if I had done it differently? So faith in yourself in this journey towards building a music career for yourselves, that's a conversation.
But in both of your examples, for the people that hear this and are just lazy as shit and just want to be stubborn, like, you did the work, you know, you had the conversations, you took the lumps, you know, that enables you to be stubborn because you have experience, you have knowledge. You're not just sitting there being like, I want it this way because this is what I want. Like, we've seen things, like I've had conversations with both of you offline about certain topics. Like, it's not, you didn't just kind of come up with this by yourself, right? Like, you talked to people, you had the experience, and you kind of like, you kind of, not gonna say deserve stubbornness, but like, it's not stubbornness and ignorance. And I think that's what a lot of people are going to just take that as an excuse to be lazy. It's like, oh, I'm going to be inflexible because like, this is the way I want it. I don't really know anything else. And this is the easiest path. So, you know,
I mean, but people would tell me I was ignorant when I was like, you know what I'm saying? Like, again, even now, some of the stuff that I'm talking about, people will now say, well, if you can see it, then cool, because I've done enough things. But when I first started, there wasn't enough of a resume there for me to say, like, I would be like, this is why, and I think this, and I read this, and I talked to this. It wasn't just because, but even then people were like, you shouldn't want that. That's dumb. That doesn't make sense. Or like, you could try, but it's probably not going to happen. You know what I'm saying? Like, I even like tweeted yesterday, like my mom picked me up from the airport because I flew in from LA yesterday. And she was just like, I'm just so proud of you. And she was on the phone with my auntie. And I was like, I feel like I'm being gaslit sometimes by my mom because my whole life, she's like, don't get into the music industry. My whole career, she was just like, you're so smart. You could just go back to school, Aaron. You could just get your degree, finish school.
We should have our mothers on a podcast.
She's like, Aaron, why are you so poor? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, when I hit 30 and had no fucking money, my mom was concerned, and rightfully so. But like 31, I hit my stride. You know what I'm saying? I'm 33 right now. I turned 34 this year, and she's now like, okay. But not 2.5 years ago was she like, Aaron, it's still not too late for you to go back and get your degree. Even though I even had employees back then. But she was like, why does your company have money and you don't? You know what I'm saying? So it's like, even recently, when there is proof of concept, when there is wisdom, it's still like just now is getting to the point where people are like, okay, it may not make sense to us, but Erin has turned out too many wins for it to not make sense for her. So I do hear what you're saying, Dane, but I do feel like there is a part of ignorance that's like, there is a part of it that's going to seem ignorant, because if you're truly a visionary, I think the vision is going to be too big for everybody to say, like, I get this. You know what I'm saying?
And even beyond that, though, like if you're starting out, right, say you got 5 artists. Out of those 5, only one's going to make it. Just statistically speaking, probably even fewer. But for the sake of argument, you got 5 artists. They all plan on making it. They're all crazy, because anyone's crazy who's trying to get into the music business. And for the first year, they're all just trying to figure stuff out, because they don't know. None of us knew when we started. The second year, still trying to figure stuff out. The third year, some stuff starts to materialize. But for some of them, if you're observing the journey of all 5, it's going to look equally messy and equally difficult and equally insane. That's kind of the thing about it. So like, as you're starting, you don't really know until you get there, and you'll start hitting benchmarks that encourage you and that maybe vindicate you. But it's just a mess at the beginning. It's a mess. And so I understand why people look at even a person who ends up, figuring it out and saying, this doesn't, because it's so outside of the norm. It's so outside of a structured trajectory.
Well, I mean, number one, like, not everybody's going to see it. Very few people are going to see it. But even the path that we took, it wasn't, we hadn't done it yet, but I wouldn't say it's a path of ignorance, right? Like, you start with, I would consider myself a smart individual with some common sense. Like, so it's and I literally saw our numbers trending. We weren't making money, but I saw our numbers trending upwards. And it's like, okay, at some point, this is going to have to work. So it's not based in nothing, right? Like, we saw numbers trending up. We saw comments changing on social media. I was talking to people. Certain people started to peek into what we were doing. Certain people in the industry, like, all of these signs point towards, okay, you guys have something. And the same with you. like, and from my perspective, being a little older than you, like, hearing what you're doing, like, I don't think I ever shut you down or said you're not, but your deal structures are different. In my opinion, like, they were a bit aggressive, but it wasn't to the point where I was like, oh, you can't do that. Like, I see what you're trying to do. I have enough experience in this to know, like, okay, I see, I'm rooting for you. I think it makes sense. I think we've always, on this side, I've felt undervalued my whole career. So I'm rooting for you. So people that have the experience hopefully, if you catch somebody that's super old, they're going to look at you and be like, that's not possible. Right. But for the people that have a little bit of experience in the game, they're like, okay, I see it. And hopefully they encourage you more so than shoot what you're trying to do down. I just know that what we're doing, if you're blazing a new path, like, it's never just ignorance. Like, we're seeing something. There's a lot of things that are pointing in the right direction that keep us on that path.
But it's faith in the unknown, and faith in the unknown can look like ignorance, and sometimes can actually end up being ignorant. So I think it's hard to determine that, especially at the very early stages.
But the last thing I'll say is like, I don't know if I wanted all the information in the beginning, because I might have been like, fuck that, I ain't doing that.
Absolutely.
Like I look at it like pledging. Like if you would have told me what I had to do to pledge my fraternity, I'd have been like, the hell with y'all. But like once you're in it, you're in it. And it's like, okay, I'm going to get to the end. And that's how I kind of looked at the music industry, because if you had told me that like all the stuff I would have had to go through, with Hopsin, to get to where we were, like I'd have been like, I'm cool. I'm about to go get this corporate job and just keep going down that path.
Definitely. If I would have known I was going to cry this much and be this hurt this much, I definitely would have went the route my mother told me.
Yeah. So sometimes, so that's another reason why I sometimes don't give I pick and choose when I give the information to certain people that I think have it. Right. Because I definitely don't want to discourage them. Other people I kind of want to discourage, because I feel like you need to do something else. But yeah, that's all I got.
I think that was a good unifying, encouraging note to end the podcast on. Appreciate you tuning in. We'll be back with another episode next week. Until then, peace.
Peace.